Good morning, everybody. It's the pollinator, and boy, you know you're getting old when you play back a vlog you made and realize you made a whole bunch of mistakes in the vlog. And before I get tarred and feathered, let me make some corrections. I did not want to be making a video this early in the morning, but I can't go to sleep until I make these corrections. First of all, the live that's going to happen on the FB platform is Sunday, not Saturday. Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 27th. You know, when people start with, well, what happened was, you know they lying, right? So I'm not gonna say, well, what happened was, let's just say I had one of those weeks that just was the craziest week ever, and crazy, emotional, depressing. I mean, everything and anything happened this week. So I'll start out by saying the live that's going to happen at the end of this month is on Sunday, not Saturday. I was actually thinking about a meeting that I'm going to miss, a meeting I really wanted to go to, and I was thinking about that meeting, and then I was thinking about this live, and the meeting is on Saturday, the live is on Sunday, and I was thinking about that meeting I'm going to miss on Saturday night. So that's mistake number one that I made. Mistake number two is I was trying to make a distinction between transgender women and cisgender women. And I said trans women and women. Transgender women are women. Okay, so I was making a distinction. Let's just get rid of the cisgender, transgender part. Women in general are a heck of a lot more sociable with each other than trans men. That's what I was trying to say. That women in general, you know how, and I always hated this when I was living with the world thinking I was a woman, and, you know, part of me thinking that way too. You know how women, the women's room, the women's bathroom is a social meeting place for women, where the men's room is not. You get in there, do your business, come out, wash your hands, and leave. But they will sit in there, first of all, they'll go in there together, and then just sit there, you know, doing their makeup, doing their hair, talking and chit-chatting and all this stuff in the women's room. So that phenomenon to me is characteristic of how much more I see them in the media, how much more I see them moving around together, having each other's backs, which is unlike, to me, trans men. Now, I have seen gay men, I have seen heterosexual cisgender men get together and have this sort of thing go on. I haven't seen it live, haven't seen it on that social media platform, but I've seen it in person, and I've seen it in other arenas, specifically fraternities. I've seen videos of fraternities getting together and talking about things. Well, talking about things. No, I haven't seen that. Not for trans men anyway. And, yeah, I haven't seen that with trans men. Trans men, again, are the invisible men. They're all quite satisfied carving out their little niche and staying in it. What was another mistake that I made? It was another one too. Well, okay, so let me talk about this week. And I'm going to link this week to something that I do not talk about in blogs. I don't, I have mentioned it, but I've never talked about it in any kind of detail or in a transparent fashion. And that's the fact that I survived a 14-year depression where many times throughout that period of time, I was actually suicidal. And because of my upbringing in 12-step programs, I was taught, you know what, before you end up in trouble, before stinking thinking consumes your mind and you figure out a way to say, that's it, that's enough, I want out, to ask for help. So throughout that 14-year period of time, instead of doing the worst thing in the world, I asked for help. I volunteered myself into hospitals and things of that nature because I didn't want to toy with suicide. And I've been on the other end of that where I was talking to somebody who was suicidal, and it was a fucking nightmare to be on the phone with someone who wanted to go there, and it leaves the person listening to all that feeling hopelessness. My sister was one of those people, and I saved her life. But I was in California and she was in the Midwest. And I never wanted to be one of those people who dumped that kind of intense depression and being suicidal onto another person. So throughout that 14-year period of time, I would ask for help. And emotional and mental help. So this past week and several times throughout my transition, I have felt that way. Well, close to feeling that way. And this week was one of them. When the idiot got elected was another period of time where I felt that way. And there was one other time, and maybe two other times, that I just felt this desperation because my life has not been easy. It was easy when I was growing up. And even that wasn't easy. It was just simpler period of time in the history of this nation. And yes, I had less external physical things that were easier, but I was tormented as a child by everything I went through. So this past week, I gave blood for the first time in my life, and I do not like needles. I did not enjoy that experience, but it was necessary. And then my eyes are still infected, so I'm not seeing real well. I was actually looking at my monitor. When I was making that, I was looking at spots in my monitor when I made this last vlog earlier, well, last night. So I had to go to the eye doctor and got a little disappointing news that they were not going to do surgery on my eyes. I have extra skin. I don't know what it's called. I can never remember these medical terms these doctors be telling me. But I have a condition where there's extra skin hanging on my eyeballs, on the white part, that needs to come off. And he did not opt for that. He wanted to do something else. I got to get more drops. And I just didn't like that news. And then I found out the next day that I also have neuropathy in my feet. My feet hurt 24 hours a day. So me smiling and joking and all that other stuff, I'm doing that while I'm in pain. I'm in pain right now. And the VA, I would say God bless them, but I really don't mean it. Because they are so inefficient, and they're almost as bad as the government and other types of businesses in this country, where they blow smoke up everybody's ass that they're actually doing better than they're doing. But let me tell you, having that as my only healthcare provider, there are people within that system that I absolutely adore, but I can count the number of them on one hand. And there's a shitload. This area has people from all over the state coming to that particular VA, and the whole system is broken all over the country. So they decided to deny a claim that I have submitted last year, and I found out on Tuesday that it had been denied, and that I was going to have to do all this extra shit to get a reinstatement, get the claim resubmitted before the time ran out, which was 9 days from the date that I spoke to the VSO, the Veterans Service State Office. Veterans State Office, anyway. Services, something like that. So, excuse me, all this stuff was going on. And then the brakes in my car started to go out. And on Wednesday, I went to see another doctor at the VA, well, my therapist, and I had one of the toughest sessions that I've ever had with her. I figured out something that had been going on since my childhood, but I didn't know it until Wednesday. And it hit me super hard. I told her that although it was a revelation, although I had great insight about it, I had no idea how to change it. I had no idea how to change it. And she said, I'll help you. But see, I only see her once a week, 1 hour out of the week. So I had a whole lot of hours in between to think about this stuff and all that other stuff. So I left there, and my brakes went absolutely crazy. By the time, and I had to go someplace else. Okay, so my brakes started going crazy, and all sorts of stuff was going off on my dashboard, but I kept driving. But I knew the end was near about my brakes. And I need a $1,500 transmission job on my car. And I need a service on my car that I haven't been able to get in over 400 and something days now. So I was pretty upset. And then Thursday came, and I had to go to the VA to get my shot. Brakes were acting, all sorts of stuff was going off on my dashboard. And I was just praying, please, God, let me get there, and then I'll figure out what to do later. So I got there, I talked to my PCP at my clinic and told her that I needed a letter to give to the VSO, to actually send it to the VSO, in order for her to send in more paperwork to have them reconsideration. That's what it called. That's what it was called. Reconsideration for my claim. And you wouldn't believe the reason why they denied it. I'm not even going to talk about it. It pisses me off so bad. I mean, they're making decisions and saying things that have no basis in reality whatsoever. So I'm annoyed about that. Then, so yeah, on the way back from getting my shot, my brakes started vibrating without me putting the brakes on. My car was vibrating at 62 miles per hour. So I slowed down, and by this time there was a red thing that was squawking very loud on my dashboard. And another light came on. I had a bad day. So I get home, I'm trying to figure out what the heck am I going to do to resolve these issues with my car, because I live in an area of the country, in a city, in a metropolitan area that is huge. You can't be without a freaking car here. And the bus was out of the question because I cannot stand up on my feet for more than 10 minutes without ending up in so much pain that I have to find some place to sit down, even if it's on the fucking ground. So I can't do the bus because most of these bus stops don't have a place to sit down. You got to stand there waiting for them. So I'm trying to figure out all this crap, and I ended up very depressed. By Thursday night, I was just absolutely undone. Then I'm looking at the state of this nation, and every time I turn around, either white people are calling the police on us because they don't want us in their establishment, or we're getting brutalized, arrested, murdered. Did you know in the state of Georgia, 12 people have gotten shot by the Ku Klux cops in 1 month, in the past month? From January, February, March, April to May. That's unacceptable. And we're sitting here seeing this, and we're the only ones that really truly care that it's happening. The people doing it don't care. The people watching them do it don't care. Never have. Since we were brought over here kicking and screaming. Never have cared of what these cops that were born out of the KKK, they don't care what they do to us. They're getting away with what they do to us all the time. People who call the police on us because they don't like what we say, or they don't like us being in their establishment, they need to get charged with something for making frivolous calls to these Ku Klux cops and having them show up in establishments to arrest us. They need to be charged with a crime. But see, silence is consent. This is happening all over the country. So why is it that a bunch of non-black people, including POC that aren't black, just sitting here watching it happen and not saying a fucking word? Why? It's called colonization, but that's beside the point. So by Thursday night, I was in a very, very bad place. And I'm constantly afraid that I will sink to places that I was while I was in that 14-year depression. That being who I am, or embracing who I am, lifted a lot of that darkness. And I say a lot of it, but not all of it. because there are times when I can slip back in there very easily. And I was probably for the last decade of that depression, or a little bit less, I was in complete isolation. Complete and total isolation. I had a couple of friends. One of them was my barber, which he wasn't really my friend, but he was a reason for me to get out of the house when I was in Texas. The other one, there were two guys that were veterans that I hung out with occasionally, but occasionally, very occasionally. The rest of the time I spent totally shut down in my house. And then I got my disability and I moved here, where I am now. And I continued to go. I thought making that move would snap me out of that isolation and depression, but it didn't. And then I continued to just. The only thing I did when I was here was go out to eat, see my therapist, and talk to somebody on social media. One person for 3 years after I moved here. I say all this to say that, I ain't perfect. I'm definitely not politically correct. I'm not always going to say the right I'll say the right thing, but I'll say it with the wrong words. That reminds me of somebody recently, who I will not name, but a more celebrity who made a misstatement. He didn't say the right thing, and everybody and their mother who isn't awake has attacked him for what he said. So, yes, I make errors when I'm speaking, and I think that's just coming with age with me. It wasn't always that way, especially when I got certified as a public speaker. I was spot on with everything that came out of my mouth. But I got certified in 1993, the year my mother passed away. In fact, I got certified 3 months before she passed. And when she did, I went into a depression for a year. I pulled away from everything. I pulled away from everything and everyone for a period of a year. And I was the administrator of her estate, and it was a mess. I had to deal with some ex-boyfriend of hers who was after all her money, and he got half of her money and didn't have to pay any of her bills. And I ended up in court with this guy. And well, it wasn't court, it was a mediation, a deposition, and it was a nightmare. I found out things about them two that I did not want to know. And then he walked away with half her money and left the other half for me and my sister to pay all her bills that she couldn't pay before she passed away. And then we got to divvy up the rest. And it wasn't much compared to what he got. And the only asset she had was her house. So we had to sell. My sister was somewhere else. I had to sell the house. Put it on market. I had an auction for all of her things, and it was about the most devastating thing I'd ever went through, to see her belongings sold for pennies. I mean pennies. Okay, why did I go there? Because I think I have fought depression on and off since I was a teenager. It first started when my parents got divorced, when I was 16 years old. But in between those bouts with depression. I ended up a positive, happy guy anyway, which is a miracle in and of itself. How in the heck could I have gone through all that adversity, all that tragedy, all that stuff I went through, and end up the way that I am today? That is why I'm blessed. For no other reason than that. That I wake up every day and I have been groomed because of things I've done in my life to try to find the best out of life. Even when things are dark, even when things suck, even when I don't feel like it, even when I don't want to, even when whatever I do, I take all them feelings with me and go do it anyway. That's what I was taught to do in 12-step programs. So, okay, I've made this vlog long enough. I just wanted to make some of those corrections. I know I made other errors because I listened back to the vlog, which I do. Sometimes I make notes out of things I didn't say or mistakes that I made. But I definitely had to clear up the mistakes that I made on the one I made last night about this live that's coming up at the end of this month on Sunday, the 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So everybody have a blessed Sunday. Down here where I am, it's going to be blistering hot today. The weather is quite bipolar. I think Mother Nature, whatever you want to call her, is getting good and pissed off at human beings because there's been a lot of strange things happening with the weather over the past decade. But anyway, so the weather's being bipolar here. It can't decide what it wants to be. It's this way one day, this way another day, this way at night, cold at night, hot in the day. It's all weird. I just wanted to share a little bit that my life hasn't been easy, but most of the time I stay too blessed to be stressed. And it's a constant battle for me to stay there, being too blessed to be stressed. I have to call on my friends. I have to call on my therapist. I called the VA suicide hotline this week. That's how bad it got. And here it is, Sunday morning, and I'm smiling again. And I attribute that to the grace of God, not in a religious way, but in a spiritual way. That somehow, some way, I get through communicating. I snap out of these different periods of time that I fall into. But for the grace of God go I. That came from Alcoholics Anonymous and 12-step programs. What's behind them are two or three guys that extracted things out of the Bible and created those 12-step programs with. So yes, there is God in them, but not a religious kind of God. It's just many of the principles of that program. Most of the stuff, a lot of the stuff that they write about in the books are spiritually based out of the Bible, but are not of the Bible. That probably has a lot to do with why I am the way that I am. My spirituality is taken from a lot of different practices and a lot of different religions, and then I boxed it up and recreated myself with my current belief system. So I consider that a blessing too, because I think organized religion is absolutely insane, and especially in the United States. That's for another talk, for another day. I just wanted to straighten that out. And also, these gentlemen that will be... Oh, that's the other mistake I made, is I said there were three guys that will be talking, including myself. No, there's going to be 3 guys talking, excluding myself. So 4 of us will be speaking Sunday night. That was another mistake. God knows if I listen to this back or I listen to the other one back, I'll find another mistake I made when speaking. But that just goes to show you I'm not perfect, and I don't claim to be. but I still have a message that I think most people can tell what I meant or that I misspoke myself. And everybody have a blessed, awesome, great rest of your weekend. Pollinator is out.